Hello and welcome back to Podcasting as Praxis. I'm David, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm James, my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jamie, my pronouns are he and him.
I'm Rob, mine are he and him.
And I'm Alasdair, my pronouns are also he and him.
Yeah, it's a full cast again today. Everybody's here.
Rob has returned from Britain. Rob, did you get anything nice in Britain?
Yeah, for our listeners, Britain blessed me with the
ability to do your pronouns in one take.
Yeah.
Well, he's been to the woke Isles, so of course he's picked up all these woke practices, right?
I mean, I could do my pronouns now, but I can't taste them, so it's a wash as far as I'm concerned.
Please do not lick the pronouns.
Look, I think it's very important that you learn to explore your own pronouns in whatever way makes you happy.
So long as it's not in Starfield, according to that one guy.
Yeah. He came up on a piece at home earlier, but I'm going to do the joke again here now and call him Normal Island Dizzy, because I'm really proud of that one.
Yep.
Yeah, if you have no idea what we're on about, maybe you suggest you join us at patreon.com/praxiscast and get on the Discord.
Join our Discord and see all the fucking cursed shit that people post.
Yeah.
When they repeatedly refuse the advice that they should not read from the book.
Advice that we too do not heed, so, it's only fair. But
It's more advisory than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
It's generally how advice works, yeah.
On the subject of Starfield before...
You speak for yourself. I've consolidated all of my curse shit into one weekly podcast. So.
digestible format. Well, sort of. Before we move on from Starfield, just a really quick note. Did you see there's a wonderful bug in it which stops you firing your gun, and the solution to it is to change your gender?
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've met a single trans woman who knows less about guns than I do, so that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm trans women, say the Starfield devs. Transmitted.
That is honestly one of the most impressive bugs I've ever fucking heard of.
I mean, it's Bethesda.
From a technical standpoint, it's like there's so many weird fucking hoops that have to have happened for that to be a thing.
I think the worst bug with Starfield, though, is that when you boot it up, you end up playing a fucking Bethesda game.
Yeah. This is the wonderful thing about it is we were saying before its release, it's the least buggy, it's the most polished Bethesda game ever, and it's like damning with faint praise if ever I fucking heard it.
It's not Cyberpunk. Okay.
The only thing that can stop a bad guy with a pronoun is a good guy with a pronoun.
But anyway, like fucking Starfield looks shit. You should all play Baldur's Gate instead.
Yeah, I second that motion.
Thus spake the 5e hater extraordinaire.
Yeah.
I've not played either of them, and it's obvious that Starfield has just warmed up Skyrim in space. And
I don't even know what a Starfield is, and I refuse to learn. So, it'd be
it's
like
that cat that likes lasagna and hates Mondays.
Starring Bill Murray.
All right, well...
That it?
Right,
yeah,
we got the system. We got Garfield out of our system.
I'm just waiting for Rob to just lead us into the first bit.
I was waiting for you to do it. Now, I wanted to begin tonight's episode on a more somber note. It's been just over 2 years since Keir Starmer personally assassinated Geronimo the alpaca. R.I.P. forever in our hearts.
Yeah.
But no evidence has yet been presented about whether the alpaca had tuberculosis, nor where his actual murder took place. We are still unsure of where Geronimo was slaughtered for no reason whatsoever.
I mean, there was a reason, though. It was a bloodlust of Keir Starmer, clearly.
Yeah, we know he was murdered. He was murdered in Britain, because that's where we do that shit.
You should have left that music on. The podcast should be soundtracked, I think.
That's a terrifying thought. Don't do that. You know that the edits are already hard enough.
Oh, we need to do Foley work for the podcast.
Not again.
Do you know what was incredible, right? Like, obviously you're a fucking huge square, so you turned off Discord like fucking drops on our server.
Yeah.
When I went into the fucking voice chat for Peace at Home, played a fucking air horn noise, and Cinnamon was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "I forgot I turned that on."
I love how David being concerned to the fundamental structure of our reality is, cast as him being a huge square.
I mean, yeah.
But just as a brief follow-up from the sad demise of Geronimo, I am pleased to announce that his former owner, Helen MacDonald, is currently campaigning for something she calls Geronimo's Law, which is a reform of the bovine TV policy.
Yes.
And finally, a
laws
good
named
law.
after people. Yeah, laws named after people never work out. We've never tried an alpaca before.
No, this is going to be the first good one that's named after a person. Or an alpaca, I guess.
You guess.
You know what? This being Britain, right, they'll bring back hanging, but just for alpacas, not understanding that it's actually incredibly hard to hang an alpaca. So, yeah, great, let's go for it.
How hard can it be to build a higher scaffold?
Yeah, expand on that.
Okay, so alpacas...
It's very hard to miss the neck. There's a lot more of it.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of it, yeah.
So alpacas' necks are genuinely, they've evolved to be very good.
One of the main things they eat is scaffolding pipes.
Yeah. They've evolved to resist, restriction of their necks, and in particular cuts to their necks as well. Genuinely, they've evolved to be...
imagine being the guy who found that out.
Yeah.
Well, no, they found it out because back
Why won't this
day,
motherfucking alpaca die? We keep hanging the prick.
It's not just hanging. Back in the day, they tried to bleed them like you would a sheep or something like that, and it just wouldn't fucking work. And it's cultural knowledge, right? No, you can't do that with alpacas.
You got that slashing resistant alpaca,
Yeah, kind of. Resistance 5 against slashing and constriction. Weakness against Keir Starmer.
I mean, I think Jamie, are you as Baldur's Gate pilled as I am now?
Yeah. They all know level 2 cleric spells.
That's I just wanted to mark the passing of one of Britain's most beloved creatures.
The dog from the Churchill insurance ads.
But sort of sticking vaguely to the countryside.
Speaking of Britain's most beloved creatures, my daughter was having a high out from the cupboards in a room and found a fucking sooty puppet that I've had since I was a kid.
Oh yes.
So yeah. So I have become infinitely more annoying to the wife today.
Yeah, sooty on one hand, the monkey on the other.
Yeah. Expecting the dual wielding.
Silent flurry unlocked as a perk.
Yeah. No, but if anyone's never actually had, if anyone's never had the joy of having a sooty glove puppet, and then when someone mentions any fucking person at all, you have the puppet whisper in your ear and you go, "Yeah, that's right, Sooty, he is a fucking prick." It's an incredibly funny bit, and I recommend everyone do it.
When I was a kid, I had a fucking Zippy puppet, which was fantastic. Zippy from Rainbow, if anyone remembers.
That's just licensed to be a wank.
Yeah, explains a lot about my personality, frankly.
I find that says very surprising things about your personality because, honestly, you're like Zippy's Wario.
I don't. You know what? Part of me feels like I should be insulted, but I'm actually just intrigued. Go on, Jamie.
No, that's it. That's the end of the thesis. That's all you get.
You have to subscribe to his newsletter.
Yeah.
Well, that's ruined my perfectly nice bridge to the next bit. But I'm going to try it.
See if you can put Sooty in a hard hat and ask him for any advice.
He says, "Yeah, that bridge was shit."
David, if you have a squeaky toy drop, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, if you have a squeaky toy drop, David, if you ever thought we were getting dogs on the podcast, you might need to entertain it.
I know we're supposed to have contempt for the listener,
Fucking
but that feels a bit much.
Audio Batman over there, prepared for every eventuality.
Yeah, if you've been listening carefully, you can hear the dog whistle drop.
Right, sorry, Rob, what were you going to say?
No, never mind.
I do have a page of dog whistles, but it's mostly Keir Starmer stuff.
Yeah. No, I was going to revert us briefly back to the countryside while we're talking about Geronimo the alpaca, because things have gone slightly more alpaca. No, Jesus fucking Christ.
Really fishing out wreckage from this river, aren't you?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. All right, let me...
We used to be a real podcast.
Fucking Alec Guinness on the banks of the River Kwai.
Welcome back, Rob. Haven't you missed us?
David, do you have that whistling drop for me?
Not handy, no.
Let me try that again. Now, sort of returning back to the countryside, but in a slightly more Mad Max faction, I want to take you to the genteel New Forest village of Lyndhurst, according to The Guardian.
Yeah, what if the doofwagon was pulled by a tractor?
Yes, where the citizens are driving the doofwagon, because apparently that particular village plus a neighbour
guy hanging from fucking bungee cords playing a jug.
Are they Billet Town, or are they with the oil refinery, given you said countryside faction?
Full Metal Boris dancing, yeah. Apparently that's the village with like the most unsolved burglaries in the country, I imagine by head of population or something. So instead of calling 999 or whatever it is you used to call the emergencies in the UK, they are now doing the following. Details of crimes, possible suspects, and evidence are exchanged on village WhatsApp groups. Private social media groups routinely share alerts of suspicious people. A New Forest Crime Watch Facebook group has 60,000 members, almost half the population of the entire national park. So
they might as well just put up a sign saying, like, you know, travellers and others not welcome here. Like, you know, let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah, the sundown New Forest. It's not. It doesn't quite have the same ring, but it is.
The sun is always setting on the New Forest.
But yeah, they're even like offering bounties for shit that gets stolen. There was
There's nothing new under
dog
the
is
fucking
spinning
sun.
in his grave right now.
Do you know, right, this is literally what existed before the formation of the police. Like, you know, they literally had that whole thing where you essentially would offer bounties, and then you'd get investigators would come along that would offer to find your thing. And then this over time became formalized as the police. And then people realized that, oh, these investigators, the police, they're actually working with the criminals to get someone to steal something, and then they split the bounty after they get the goods back. Like, you know, nothing is new. Absolutely nothing is new.
James, will you stop giving the game away on our new money-making scheme?
See, I'm just loving
Just a guy covered in fucking toilet paper turning up to investigate who left the fence gate open.
Yeah, so apparently, according to the article, like 2 very expensive like pottery plates got stolen, which were worth like 750 quid together. So
please, was it Diana? Sure. Was it a Diana one? Please tell me it was a Diana one.
No, it's like some Wedgwood.
It's really important to me.
I mean, on the other hand, if you have large plates with Prince Andrew, like DM me and I might buy them off you.
Uppers, downers, screamers, laughers.
Desperate for justice, the owner didn't turn to the police. Instead, the shopkeeper took matters into her own hands. A Facebook campaign demanding the pottery's whereabouts, combined worth of £750, gained traction. 2 days later, the plates were returned.
Wow, so more successful than any fucking change.org thing that John McDonnell's done then.
The shop owner continued, the police only wanted to look into it after we had located them through our own efforts. We declined their help. Which that does like the most on-brand thing, yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why there's so much fucking like YouTube content. A guy tracks down his stolen bike, phone, house, whatever, through the like find my stolen property app, and then carpet bombs the house and takes their stolen thing back. It's like the cops just don't give a shit, and like I mean like this is more than they're gonna do. So like I do understand why they're doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I really look forward to like isolated rural communities, like sort of becoming law and order towns again off their own bat. I can't see that, working out poorly for anybody who lives there. But I also have good news, specifically for the good people of Scunthorpe. For this one goes out.
We
to
finally
all
solved the
Scunthorpe
problem.
We have compromised Scunthorpe to a permanent end. Yes.
Yeah, by putting an O in there.
Scunthorpe.
I just like the way that Scunthorpe would sound, to be honest.
Now this is from The Mirror by John Stevens, whose like output in the last week has been so bootlicking of Labour that like I'm convinced he's just out for a job with them at this point. That like it's good news because Keir Starmer has pledged that he will use more good honest British steel in the construction of good honest British warships because currently they only contain 4% British steel and 96% dirty foreign steel.
That's why they have basic structural integrity for, so I'm not sure you want to mess with that.
Yeah, that 4% is the big hole in the side, letting all the water into the engines.
Is this steel meant to look like an aero bar?
No, because you don't make the warships out of concrete. I'm afraid to tell you. No, it's not just.
Not after
it's
the
not just
disaster.
going to be. It's not just going to be. It's not just going to be British steel. It's going to be British green steel, apparently. So there's thing upsides going. Let me read you a bit from the article, Mr.
When I think about the process by which you make new steel, I'm like, okay, let's see where they go with this.
Mr. Starmer said he is proud to be British, as the people of this country are pragmatic.
Yeah, because the ability to produce new steel in a manner that doesn't emit huge amounts of carbon dioxide into the environment is entirely dependent on the Prime Minister being a fucking nationalist, essentially. Not anything to do with the vast amounts of coke
Someone needs to creep up behind that cunt and pull the string in his back so he says something fucking different for a change. Do you know what I mean?
There's a snake in his boot.
I think
we
my
are
stuff
weeks
is
away from him
broken. You pull the
announcing
string,
that
he
his
just goes by
pronouns are
spider
British
sense
and
tingling.
English.
That was great. That was wonderful. That was ASMR to put me to sleep.
That was perfect synchronicity.
I didn't get what either fuck I was saying there.
We are weeks away from him
again,
saying
David?
his pronouns.
Oh, hey. COVID makes you much funnier, mate.
Fuck you.
No, it's like killing off his super ego, so his head is just coming through.
Temperature update, it is now 26 degrees in here.
Can we ask the bet to declare this an official Heat Madness episode, yeah? Sorry, David, you were going to say something.
We are weeks away from Keir Starmer saying that his pronouns are British and English.
No, that's right, Sooty. It wasn't worth the wait.
Where did David go? There's just a smoking crater.
Yeah. Who gave City the nuclear launch codes?
Oh, fucking hell, man.
Mr. Starmer said he is proud to be British as the people of this country are pragmatic, strategic, and able to get things done.
What?
Yeah.
This motherfucker just opened like a fortune cookie and just read the first thing that came out.
Does he go on to
People
fucking...
a strategic fucking helmet.
Does he go on and does he use like a fucking magic 8-ball that's been cursed by LinkedIn when he's coming up with this shit? Like, how the fuck?
I mean, this is still about adding like a bit more British steel to a warship, like we neither want nor need. Just for context wise, but that
sounds like astrology for international relations students.
But he added that pride has to be rooted in government action. So if you take defense procurement, the government can assure that we have weighed much more heavily in the contract awarding process the benefit to Britain of buying more in Britain, selling more in Britain, and making more in Britain. So, hooray.
I've been watching a lot of Nathan For You lately, and there's an episode where he has like 4 people in like a boxcar just feeding him stuff to do while he's like talking to like a random guy, and that made more sense than whatever the fuck this is.
I mean, he does say, buying more in Britain, selling more in Britain, and so on and so forth, but, little side note, it might be called British Steel, but it is owned by the Chinese Jingye Group. So, swings and roundabouts, I guess. However, I am pleased to report that this is not the only truly low-grade ass promise made this week by Labour. Bridget Phillipson...
Yeah, they're going to get Nathan Fielding in to fix the fucking British economy. That's what they're going to do.
The first credible policy from them.
Shadow Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson was also allowed out of the torture gate by Rachel Reeves to say that Labour will cut the cost of school uniforms by limiting the number of branded items that parents are forced to buy.
Well, actually, a really good idea that they've had is by not promising to fix any of the crumbling schools in this country, kids won't have to wear school uniforms. So
yeah, but they could wear them to the temporary cabins and shit they'll put up. In the FEMA tents, they can wear the cheaper school uniforms.
Sorry, children, we don't have any school uniforms for you, so you're just gonna have to wear this fucking barrel burlap sack.
The new school uniform, much cheaper though it is, it's like silver lipstick and a giant flamethrower guitar. It's going to be incredible. So this is from the Independent. Just so I want to make sure you're not getting any money out of this. The party has pledged, and this is a Labour pledge, and they're worth a lot. So grab your pen and paper, write them down. The party has pledged to strengthen existing statutory guidance in an effort to reduce the burden on families struggling with the cost of living crisis. So I'm assuming that's solved now. And if you're wondering what exactly...
that's such strong language. In strengthen the existing statutory guidance. Well, that just... I can hear the pounds falling from here.
Into your pocket, Alasdair. Because in
from
the future...
Keir's mouth into my wallet.
2 Keir's, 1 wallet. Because from now on, the strengthened existing statutory guidance will be that that schools may only charge for a maximum of 3 branded school uniform items, as well as a PE kit, but no more. So no more school branded socks, I guess. Yeah, as well. I think it's as well as. It's not quite clear, but I'm going to assume as well as.
What fucking schools have uniformed PE?
Right, so we're going to stop here. We're going to take a long, hard look at Keir Starmer and the rest of the Shadow Cabinet, and I want to ask you to take another run at that question, David, because this should be very obvious where they're getting this inspiration from.
Well, I mean, yeah, but who would that affect? It doesn't make any... But they're not going to turn around and say, and you must have uniform PE, because that would be a policy.
I mean, you've got to remember, they're allowed policies, they've just got to be bad ones.
I mean, we can briefly go through the reshuffle stuff. The only thing I would say is that it's incredibly funny that they managed to eliminate Lisa Nandy. R.I.P. Spend more time at the towns. Although I think she's now like something for international development, like the ministry that no longer exists. So she's just kind of like hanging around, I guess.
She's a minister of state in she's a shadow minister of state, obviously, because she's not a real fucking politician, in the Foreign Office. So yeah, it's kids' table shit, but she still gets to attend cabinet like it's some sort of
she still gets to go to the Model UN.
Yeah,
they've kept her high chair. It's all good.
And of course, maybe this is my sort of ongoing interest. Labour are continuing the proud tradition of just like shuffling any random old person into DEFRA, because it's now Steve Reed, who is just like a fucking ape in a suit, so far as I know, and has no connection at all with the environment. So I look forward to the manifold crises in our water systems not being fixed by Steve Reed, because he can't do that sort of thing.
Well, he can't do that as a shadow minister anyway, so...
No, that's true. Well, first they have to win power, David. That's why it's so important. And of course,
the jokes that I really like on this podcast.
A warm welcome back to Liz fucking Kendall, computer user extraordinaire. Finally,
she's finally figured out how to log on.
But yeah, it's just everything you expect. Like, let's not spend more time on it. It's just the usual dog shit, and it's just like whatever.
Just imagine something really bad happening, and then we can move on to the next section.
Recompiling the Kendall.
Actually, before we move on to the next section, can I give a very brief update on last week's story?
Sure.
Yes.
So last week we talked about SAG-AFTRA and the WGA. After we recorded, it was announced that SAG-AFTRA are gearing up for a possible strike against the video game industry. The board of SAG-AFTRA...
Hopefully a tactical one.
They've basically turned to the members and they've issued a strike ballot. So it'll be interesting to see what the return on that is. But the general mood, from what I've been able to find out, is that they feel even worse towards the video game industry than they do towards Hollywood, which is saying something. So look forward to that exciting expansion.
I don't think that's actually saying much, considering at least me and Jamie have always been saying that the video games industry must be destroyed.
Yeah.
Well,
it absolutely must.
SAG-AFTRA are apparently going to attempt to do it. Not really, but yeah, they are. It looks very likely they will go on strike. We'll see. And that's it. That's just a little update. It seemed like a nice little thing to tack on.
Yeah. So, I hope they burn the video industry, games industry down to the ground. And,
I hope they raise it to the ground and salt the earth.
Yeah. Send salt to the ground, yes.
Amen.
Anyway, so for our main topic tonight, I just wanted to declare up front then, I'm not obsessed with Briefcase Supreme Seb Payne. You are. It's not my fault.
I mean, to be fair, Seb Payne is the kind of guy that looks like... something that Jamie's kid fished out the cupboard. So,
not unlike Leveling Up, some of like the weaker, non-insane like 50-minute city Tories have noticed that more bad things are happening out there in the country, and they have. Or at least a think tank that sort of vaguely aligned to them has discovered that a startling truth: young people aren't very happy.
Young people, despite our best efforts, continue to exist.
Apparently, and stop me if this all sounds familiar, they're let down by the education system. They have very bad mental health, and they don't really feel like they belong in their community or to their nation. Broadly speaking,
we keep saying to them, and they for some reason they feel this way.
Do you know? It's kind of funny because let's pause a second. The things they flagged up there are. They're not doing well in school to become good workers. They're not nationalists. They don't really kind of fit there. And their mental health is too poor for them to be workers. That's the extent of their concern. Like, that's how it actually manifests. Cool. Love it.
Also
that's what it takes to get them to notice.
So, like, some of them, again, the Onward think tank, have gathered under the banner of Seb Payne and proposed what I can only charitably call a reintroduction of national service. This time,
the kids are too gay. Let's send them to war to toughen them up.
Exactly. There's too many genders. This time, it's called the Great British National Service, and I am probably like. The only one of 6 people who's read the entire thing, and I thought we should talk about it.
Of course you did.
I I say, by the way, Onward. I should stress that this is a co-production together with the not at all eerily named Jubilee Center for Character and Virtues.
Oh boy!
I really fucking wish that the writer's strike applied to these cunts as well.
Yeah, maybe it
which
does.
is
That could be why it's so on the nose.
Which is somehow attached to, like, I think the University of Birmingham. I don't understand how. Like, I was poking around a bit on their website.
Yeah,
I can't
the
really
Keep
work it
Britain
out.
White Coalition, for some reason, has a problem with all the kids today. And the
Well, I mean,
bloodlines, don't you know?
Well, they don't really wear like their sort of hardcore Toryism on their sleeve, but like the director
Apart from the fact that Seb Payne is the selected
Yeah,
candidate for some fucking seat.
but
They
their
just wear it
chair
on the side of their helmet.
Well, their chair does keep publishing like articles lacking the like bemoaning the lack of Catholicism in schools, I assume. And he's working on a piece about the Trojan Horse Schools affair, so I'm looking forward to reading something.
Have they finally come up with an answer that isn't just ignoring it?
So if you're wondering, well, why should we have a national service again? And I know you and all of you
So we
out
can
there.
train people to shoot.
Here's from the introduction. The idea of national service can sound nostalgic. It might call to a bygone era of conscription and compulsion, when young people had few prospects and limited horizons, unlike now.
Bring that back.
What, fewer prospects and limited horizons, or conscription and compulsion?
That'll be... No, a few prospects and limited horizons. That'll be a novel thing.
Yeah, but national service, David, is at its core about a shared experience. Whether military or civic, it is about a cohort of future citizens participating in a collective right of... Yes.
Fucking hell.
Like
Tom Clancy's future citizen.
How do you become a future citizen? Well, funnily enough, the guy who voiced Sam Fisher was also in another, production that answered this question. So, what's the difference between just a citizen and a civilian?
It was Tristan and Isolde.
Very good.
Participating in a collective rite of passage in which they learn about each other, develop new skills, and build a sense of purpose.
Yeah, they're calling it service guarantee citizenship.
Across the world, countries are returning, with a V presumably, to the historical idea of national service to face their current challenges. It is time Britain did the same.
Do you know, right, I'm gonna, it's personal story time here. So my dad, huge generational gap from me. He was born in 1937. He actually did national service, and as a consequence of his national service, he did national service in post-war Germany, and it clearly fucked him up.
On the bad side, I assume.
Yeah, well. Yes. No, he was sadly not Soviet at all. But it clearly fucked him up. And it was really interesting whenever he'd talk about it, because he had that whole British, national service, it was great, salt of the earth, dad's army kind of nonsense. But he also very clearly, was traumatized by it and hated it. And you could tell it fucked him up. And what would happen is he'd start off with, it was great for me sort of thing. But after a minute or two, he'd quieten down and stop talking about it. Because it was just that actually fucked. And
because it fucking sucked.
Yeah, exactly. And I found out just to give it its full context, I did find out later one night he did get drunk, and I asked about it, and it turned out he'd been on a train that had been bombed by basically stay behind Nazis behind the lines, and he basically watched the rest of his unit or whatever it was get wiped out. And clearly no support, no help whatsoever. He was back carrying a rifle the next day, sort of thing. And what I kind of got from him is that all these people who have this nostalgia for national service, they're all the ones who were born in the late 40s or whatever, and just
didn't
absolutely missed it. Yeah, they just didn't do it. They just the generation before were kind of taught, national service is something to be proud of, so they all said they were proud of it. But then the generation that came after were too lead poisoned to actually realise that no, they're all incredibly traumatised by it and hated it. And, they're just repeating the line. That doesn't mean that they actually mean it. So
yeah. Who knew that boomers had the capacity to imagine that things in a past they never lived through were better for everyone?
Well, I mean, I think you're all
one of my favourite one of my favourite artefacts of British television. Not to say that it's good in any way, shape, or form, but was the series Bad Lads Army. I don't know if any of you've ever seen that. It was just a reality. It was a reality show thing where they took a bunch of ne'er-do-well fucking young adults and pressed them into fake national service with a bunch of actually serving or recently retired army guys who took the opportunity to go, oh, I can pretend it's the 50s. I can get away with absolute fucking misery. It's insane. It's wild watching. And it's all on YouTube if you feel so inclined.
I do not feel so inclined.
No, okay, no, you just work on your sales page.
It's a very good window into what the British psyche unironically believes is good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think all of you are being very negative about this idea of reintroducing national service, because the report, this is the introduction. This is like the primary sales page to like the 10 people who are going to read the exact summary and nothing else.
I'd say the pitch isn't going that well then.
Can I stop you?
No.
Please do.
No.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Am I correct in thinking that the sales pitch is not for the young people, it's for the people who might get to implement the policy decision?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
They cite some other countries. Apparently, Denmark has a draft lottery. Don't ask, I didn't look into it. Which, among other things, caused improved numeracy and literacy skills a mere 10 years after that service was ended. So I assume that the one thing has something to do with the other. There was also students who do university military training in the US, ROTC, I think, as well as British Army veterans have what the report calls increased psychological resilience.
No, they fucking don't. Source, I've met them.
And a desire for more biscuit toppings, I imagine.
Does young Sebastian show he's working anywhere?
I mean, there is a list of references, but I can't be fucked to find out. And in France, mind you, but back when they still had conscription, they found that conscripted soldiers after their service were more likely to vote, and I think the margin was 7%. Please do not be asking that question. So the main example they want to follow is, of course, Emmanuel Macron, who reintroduced national universal service, or Service National Universel, or SNU, or SNU, about which a bunch more later. And they've also done like a whole bunch of polling to show that people are really enthusiastic about national service.
Yeah, a certain sector of society is very passionate about it. And
no, the polling they did was 46% of young people approve. Don't ask about the methodology, and only 70% were against. And I assume that's everybody. Then we get like a fantastic table. This is like the bullet points for like if you really can't be asked to read the whole thing. It's like 5 things, and it's like challenges and recommendations. I'll just give you 2 of them. Challenge. Young people are unskilled, unhappy, and unmoored. Recommendation. The government should create a new Great British National Service Scheme. This is not
We've identified that there may be some structural problems, so we're building a separate structure to house them all in.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give too much away of later, David, but there is already a national service scheme operating in the UK. Nobody's just signing up for the fucking thing.
Was that the recruitment for it?
Was that clean for the Queen? Was that what that was?
No, we'll get to it. Challenge. Previous national service schemes haven't leveraged the full potential of Britain's youth sector.
Youth sector. Yeah, you're not young. You are the youth sector.
Recommendation: the national service should be saved by the national
should be shaved.
Service should be shaped
traditionally. Yes.
I do note that the acronym for this thing is GBNS, which is inevitably going to be called Gibbons. So shaved Gibbons. As you were saying, Rob,
go back to GBNS.
Can the rest of you keep it down? I'm trying to like fucking harness my psychic potential.
So the Gibbo news service should be shaped by. Should be saved by an advisory board made up of youth sector organizations, employers, and other relevant bodies. So if you're wondering what the direction of this whole thing is going to be about. So it's sort of divided into several sections. The first part is...
I love employers on there, though.
Yeah. The first part is called Youth in Crisis, and it basically gives a overview of, people who are young are not happy. I'm just going to try to... They listed on the several sort of subheadings. They are unskilled, unhappy, and unmoored. Unskilled being...
I mean, this is just the fucking guy drowning and getting high-fived meme, right? It's like...
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, this
I would simply drown less.
So this stuff is fairly sort of straightforward. It's nothing that our listeners aren't, familiar with. It's just, absences from school have been increasing, especially since COVID. Apparently, and this is something that they are now worried about, only 2% of young people and children have the critical literacy skills to detect fake stories.
How is this a problem for them? They wanted this.
More than 1/3 believe job prospects won't recover from COVID. There's lots of youth unemployment. There's lots of lost hope, etc., etc. While nearly 2/3 of young people report that it is hard to get a job these days, some have lost hope entirely. Nearly 1 in 10 young people studying or out of work report that they never intend to start working. Those are the cool ones. 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds don't believe that they will ever be able to achieve their career ambitions. I'm like, I wonder why that is. I wonder what happened to the structure of the British economy.
The thing that's admitted here is that career ambitions for, like, the younger generations amount to things like being able to survive on my income.
Yeah.
Imagine having career ambitions, though.
Well, I mean, some people are really drawn to the field of drywalling, Jamie.
I mean, Jamie, my career ambition is to be left alone, and, like, it's just, each day's a grind.
However, this I think is the more relevant bit for this report. Employers are also worried about the same thing. They think that youths don't have the right skills, 40%, followed by previous work experience, which is nice to ask of like a 60 to 25-year-old, what's your previous job been? As well as confidence. They're not feeling that, the young people have confidence on their 0-hour shitty-ass job. And it's not just like the. Apparently, 34% of employers think that a lack of confidence is holding British youth back from achieving their full potential in the Amazon warehouse of the future, I guess.
Yeah, nothing gives me confidence like I might not be able to actually eat next week.
Yeah, there's this whole thing, like, there's two sides to the confidence thing when it comes to these private businesses, right? Because inevitably they mean one of two things. First one is, these millennials can't talk on the phone. Fuck them. And the second is, they're not willing to accept, like, really shit terms and conditions and let us pull the wool over their eyes because they're able to communicate on social media and see how the game is rigged. Also, fuck them. Like, that's what
but
they
don't
mean.
worry about it. Part of the national service is to wean people off their dang phones.
Yeah, by getting them off their dang phones by getting them to make phone calls.
Yeah, but how much more fun is it with a headset on for 0 hours?
Yeah, you will learn to sit in a windowless room with like 400 other people the exact same age as you with like 5 minutes for a break, and then if you don't stop speaking on the phone, then you're penalised like several hours of salary.
There's also, I mean, we're at a bit of a remove, but I actually have been doing some digging. Apparently a lot of kids, an awful lot of kids, know fine well that the COVID situation is totally fucked because they're in schools and they're watching it go around and, seeing everyone get fucked up by it, like, continually.
They can even hear about it on good podcasts about people getting fucked from COVID.
Yeah, well, so it's like the adults are at enough of a remove that they're not seeing the vectors that schools are and not really experiencing it firsthand, but the kids are, and the kids are terrified, and the kids are seeing that there's nothing really being done to protect them. And as they get older, they're getting angrier about it.
Yeah, but
and so
Jamie,
that's leading a lot of them.
James.
How fucking dare you? on both our behalves, quite frankly.
Yeah. But they're genuinely like, this is leading them all to be like, no, fuck call centre work. I don't want to keep doing this. It's going to kill me. So.
Yeah, but James, it's not just about like school taught skills, like being in school and doing numeracy and stuff. Apparently, the youth of today is also missing soft skills and character, and this is where the Jubilee Center for Character Study kicks back in.
What? For what?
Yeah. This is the thing. Right, let me read to you a little bit of the report. See how much you can stomach. These soft skills fall under the category of character virtues. Character is defined by the Jubilee Center for Character and Virtues as a set of personal traits or dispositions that produce specific moral emotions, inform motivation, and guide conduct.
This is a fucking Dungeons and Dragons character sheet.
Character education includes all explicit and implicit educational activities that help young people to develop positive personal strengths called virtues. There are 4 main categories of good character: moral, intellectual,
N, T, and J.
Performance, and civic.
Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Yeah, we've all been there before.
Yeah. Do you know, this honestly sounds like it was written by Calvin's dad's Wario, frankly. Like...
For students, character can be caught (brackets by setting priority virtues).
Can be caught by being in close proximity to someone with good character already.
Or by capturing the right priority value in your Pokeball, I guess.
You have to grind IVs on like a bunch of fish in the river.
Character can also be taught (brackets during assemblies). That's where you learn your character, I guess. And it can also be
off. Absolutely nothing has ever been learned from a fucking school assembly. Get bent. Like, no way.
The epitome of things that could have been an email.
Yes.
Yeah, but character can also be sought (brackets with inspirational speakers). So if you have like Ian Botham
sorry, that's
turn
the
up
same thing as an assembly. That is like today class we're going to have an inspirational speaker in that you are forced to attend. You must assemble to listen to them. I can't
think of a single time my school got someone in to speak to an assembly and it didn't immediately turn out to be one of the worst ideas the school ever fucking had.
Oh, yeah, actually thinking back to it, I remember the first time we had a guest speaker in like, I think it was junior school, and it was a cop telling us not to do drugs, and I thought, doing drugs sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I went to a fucking Catholic school, and they, like, the people they had in to give talks were fucking mental. Especially, like, a lot of it was sex ed related. Or it was the priest. So it's like, yeah, okay, great, this is fantastic.
At least they separated that out.
Well, no, there was one time the priest went on this whole thing about how masturbation made you a complete sado and you shouldn't do it. And what was really
taken
funny...
from me, the priest.
Yeah, right. What was really funny about this is, I was one of these edgy fucking atheists, so I actually was well up on my Catholic doctrine and dogma, so I could argue with them. And this was like within a year of the Pope at the time changing papal, church doctrine to say that actually masturbation was not a sin, it was fine, it was just a sign of a lonely heart. And so here's the priest like contradicting, the church's teachings in an assembly to the school.
Well, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
Yeah, apparently not. Just like the lamest bullshit ever. Either that, or it was. Did you guys get these like touring like performance groups that would come in and do like a play for the kids to teach you some lesson?
I have never experienced this in my life.
Oh, it's a huge grift. Like,
yeah.
I just realised there was one good assembly we had. There was a nice blind lady that lived in the village, and she brought her very sweet dog in to tell us about what it's like to be blind with a guide dog, and that was very interesting.
See, that's actually good. That's like,
good.
Have exposure to other like ways of living and being in life like that. That would be an actual good use of assemblies.
Yeah, but what if you could get that from national service, James?
See, when the Ben was leaving school and we had to go to some like fucking event thing where they were handing out like certificates to kids or some shit, and there was they had some guy in, and he was like a fucking like rich business guy, an entrepreneur, but he started out local, so he was like working class forever. and he was there, and he was like giving this like fucking the worst public speaker I think I've ever been in a room with, and he's given this like faltering speech through this anecdote about how one time he was in Africa for reasons he wouldn't go into, and his Range Rover got pulled over by an armed militia, and they held him at gunpoint for half an hour, and I was just sat there thinking like, Jesus, if they just had a little more conviction, I could have been home by now.
I can't believe you let me down like this, Mugabe.
Like I said, they're not the youth of today. They're unskilled. They're also unhappy. I'm going to skip through this because it's mainly about mental health. We've talked about this on the previous episode. It's very, very fucked. The only thing I wanted to read out to you is they have some, like, they did focus groups. Of course they did. And I wanted to read you one bit from one of the focus groups. This is Woman 39, self-employed, Milton Keynes, Labour
Woman
to undecided.
39, step up now. Your time has come.
Agent 47's Wario.
It's hard because I feel I pander to my son and he seems to get weaker instead of stronger.
What? Yeah, what we need is to go back to the days of the Spartans. We should have left your son in the middle of a forest, and if he could have crawled his way back to you, then he's worthy of your attention.
So the youth of today are also unmoored. They are not part of communities and things and stuff.
Not reading
because you've
enough
wiped
Suzanne.
out the
Can't
communities.
imagine why.
Apparently, the measure as to whether or not people are involved in their communities is whether or not young people.
How many fascist rallies they've been on?
No, it's how often they talk to their neighbour, or whether or not they trust them.
Okay. Why would a child talk to like a grown adult neighbour?
Young people today are 3 times as likely to mistrust their neighbour or stop to talk to them as kids in 1998.
I can't imagine why that would be.
Because
the neighbour's posting in a 16,000 strong Facebook group about how either this is a stranger or definitely the child next door who has damaged my flowers.
Yes. Also, for reasons I can't understand, and also I had the nice big podcasting habit of my brain again, so I've forgotten what happened in 2015 to 2019. Apparently, 18 to 24-year-olds don't want to volunteer, and they don't participate in politics. I don't understand why that would be.
Huh.
See, as a former 18 to 24-year-old, yeah.
Oh well, we've all been there. Show off.
Yeah, relatable.
But go on, share us your mystical insight, little wee one.
Well, I was 18 to 24 in the period in question, Rob, so thank you very much.
Okay, so did you talk to your neighbours like a good little boy while holding a big woolly pop?
It's okay, Alasdair.
In your little sailor outfit?
He's just trying to treat you like you're used to, like an the authentic British experience.
Rob, I know you sent that to me, but I'm not going to wear it.
Anyway, and even more surprisingly, look, this is going to really shock you. Did you know that even living in London doesn't automatically mean you have friends outside your ethnic or socio-economic status? Like that, those are still quite tightly bound groups. Shocking material, I know. But then, and also, last thing, of course, because this is the Tory thing, they're very worried about the rising gangs. But compare and contrast this to their stated desire to have a national service, which, by the way, does involve uniforms. While many young people join gangs to chase status or as a shortcut to adulthood, others enjoy what psychologist Philip Zimbardo...
Shortcut to adulthood. They should stop giving gangs like the power of the time crystal, and then that wouldn't be a fucking concern, would it?
The long lost chapter of the Lord of the Rings was a shortcut to adulthood. Yes. Others enjoy what psychologist Philip Zimbardo calls de-individuation, a process of feeling strength and liberation from being part of a mob or group, often while wearing the same clothes. Now, bear in mind, that is bad. National service.
unironically good.
There is a silver lining, though, according to the report. Young people do want to belong to something somewhere. They do want communities, etc., etc. And they do some polling as to like what they want and what they don't want. The highest scoring is like weekly club activities. Fortunately, we cut all the funding for the club, so womp womp on that one. But the lowest scoring is, of course, the thing that's on the increase everywhere, which is advice and support online / by phone, i.e., the online psychiatry bot that tells you to kill yourself if you have eating disorders, as did happen. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. So, we having established that the young people are unemployed, have bad mental health, and lack community spirit, we can resolve all this in one fell swoop through national service. They do this by basically saying that, like, look, we can't get conscription back, which is what I sense they really want. But they do feel that, like, people want to bring it back. And they they start, the first thing they start talking about is, like, the good things that, like, conscription did for people. This is from the introduction to this bit, basically. National service, in some cases...
continental Europe.
Try the fries in Flanders or something else. National service, in some cases, accelerated the affirmation of the citizen in a democracy. In a quid pro quo arrangement, temporary soldiers became stakeholders of the democratic polity, which paved... Yeah, but it gets better. It gets better. Which paved the way for the extension of the franchise to large swathes of the male population.
I mean, there was in fact a film about this.
Oh.
I just love a fucking diseased brain that can look at Israel and go, yeah, there's a solution to a problem we've got.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up, James. Data from Israel highlights similarly... Data from Israel highlights similarly positive impact. Israeli discharged servicemen tend to be more tolerant than high school students, the control group, towards people of different cultural or ethnic backgrounds.
Which ones? Which ones?
It's easy to be tolerant of someone when you've had your boot on their neck. Like, that's for like, fucking hell.
They also, but that's the international examples. They also cite some homegrown work. David, you'll like this. A qualitative study of the impact of military service on mental health of older UK veterans found that British veterans dealt better with workplace stress and trauma, with veterans reporting higher levels of confidence and resilience.
Oh, yeah. I know why. It's because none of them have any problem telling some dickhead manager to just shut the fuck up, and they will just shut the fuck up because they've never been told that in their life. Like, that's how that works. They just say that shit and get away with it. That's why they're so confident.
Well, thanks. As one veteran inside in the report puts it, I just got on with things really.
Yeah,
being in the military,
because he's told his boss to fuck off, and he's not been micromanaged anymore because it's too much hassle.
No, it's the other thing. Being in the military, you had to have a certain amount of discipline. That sort of attitude developed a positive defense to dealing with anything that came up.
That's code for fuck off. That's all that is. These are people who just don't put up with dickheads they feel are below their station, and anyone who's ever met a middle manager will know that they are absolutely below the station of any other human being.
Yeah, they're barely human life forms.
Yeah.
So they go on to cite some other programs like the Swiss Civilian Service, the German Voluntary Social Year, AmeriCorps, which is, I think, like a CIA front, basically. And then they get to...
Just slip that one in there,
Fucking hell.
And then they get
to play to stereotype, but it is. So, yes, carry on.
And then, of course, they get to the one I mentioned before, the one they really, really love, which is...
the Death by Snoo Snoo branch.
Yes, that's by the brand new French Service National Universel, or SNU or SNU. which weirdly enough was founded right after the end of conscription and in response to the terror attacks in Paris of that year, where Macron argued that national service would play an essential part in ensuring every young person in France has the opportunity to meet their fellow citizens, engage in social mixing and Republican cohesion over the course of a month. So I wonder what that's code for.
See, the one good thing about this is if they armed all the kids, then maybe things would just weirdly get better after a time.
Mostly hilariously, in France, the people who were most opposed to this, like to the death by snoo was the military, because they were like, oh no, we can't be bothered to like train some fucking young people. We want to, be off assassinating African presidents.
Yeah. Is this because they didn't have like private security that would actually still turn up to guard the offices of shit magazines?
Yeah. So they then go on to describe the French thing in detail. I really won't bore you because it's very long, except for this little bit. So during your stint in the snoo, you have a 2-week mandatory snoo center trip. Think boarding schools, disused summer camps, other locations of horror movies.
You tell him he can't snoo anymore.
Where you need to wear a uniform, a shirt and cap with logos on it, and you're not allowed to use your phone outside mandated times, but they do present a schedule for an average day in phase 1. Would you like to hear?
Yes. Yes, I am so here for this, Rob. Let's go.
So this is the thing they almost word for word want in the UK as well. This is their base model. Between 8 and 8:15 a.m., flag raising ceremony.
Yes!
It does not take 15 minutes to put a fucking flag up.
Well, it depends. If you're treating yourself,
be more ceremonial about it.
Yeah, no, they've got to play taps or something.
There's only one time in history that a flag took longer than a few seconds to put up, and it was good, and that was on the fucking Reichstag.
Yes.
8:30 to 9:30 a.m. sports. 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. sports.
Also sports. Why not just have that? Why is that not one block?
Fucking double PE. I hate double PE.
Yeah. Question. Where's breakfast?
Presumably before the flag raising.
Yeah.
So
Rivali's going to be 6 o'clock, guaranteed.
Oh my god.
Yeah. 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Fag break.
Pretty much, because 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. activities.
Enforced fun. Yes.
No, they like it's like you have to like go in the go into the community and help like rebuild the community center or like look at the bars.
Hold on, Rob. They're expecting people in their fucking 20s to put up with this shit.
This is, I think, 16 to 18.
Oh, right,
but still.
Okay.
But don't worry about it.
They will put up with this shit, I'm sorry, but they will. I've seen it. I've done it.
But don't worry about it. Between 6:30 and 7 p.m., you have free time. But then...
Wow.
dinner, and then between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. you have internal democracy (brackets) a moment to reflect on the day and discuss current events /news.
What?
That has to be the most heavily moderated discussion section. Yeah. There's no way that's just like get together and talk about the day's activities. That's the sergeant or whoever fucking will be doing this shit will talk to you about the day's activities and inform you on how you should be thinking about them.
Yeah, and also like what the problem is with 15-minute cities, basically. Like,
yeah. Like, you do not give a group that age that kind of time for that purpose and have it not be monitored. Like, you would not do that. That would be mad unless you are trying to build some sort of insurrection against the shit system that you built.
Rob, what time's bedtime?
Give me what I had that as well. There's 9:30 to 10:30 is free time again, so I assume that 10:30 is bedtime, and then wake up at 6:30, and then have breakfast, raise the flag again, and so on and so forth.
This is anti-science, which is no surprise, but
there's no time to put down the flag.
But just perpetually raising it higher and higher, Alasdair. No, like
it's just a Sisyphean task with the flag for it to return to the bottom every day.
But like this is very anti-science because kids in that age range are meant to get up later, like the circadian rhythms are just set to. No one quite knows why, but it's been observed scientifically. And they're also meant to sleep like 9 to 10 hours. Like at that age, they're just required to. That's what their brains need.
No, because that means they don't learn grit.
Like, yeah, this is just
Group
not
range indication type of file.
Yeah.
There are even the report adds in though. There are a few teeny tiny problems with all of this though, because apparently this is not quite as mandatory as the French make it out to be. Because a third of all the young participants come from families that are in the armed forces or the police already. So and 2/3 of them already had like excellent school results anyway, and are just using this as like 16-year-old CV builder.
Oh, it's Duke of Edinburgh. Okay.
Yeah, it's boys.
A humongous bunch of dweebs doing the most annoying shit you can imagine. Gotcha.
Only 4% of French young people actually participate, and they wanted to make it big and national, but it turns out that when everybody got that angry about the pension reforms, they just dropped this whole business. And it's probably also too expensive for them to roll it out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing,
It's
isn't it?
interesting that they managed to sell this as something that would be worth doing for a CV and stuff, and actually being vaguely to some degree successful. Like 4% is still quite a lot, especially population the size of France. But like with the cadets in Britain fully had to just start doing Duke of Edinburgh as part of cadets when I was in, because the cadets was worthless on a CV, and the only thing people recognise is D.A.V. But at the same time, that means that everyone's got D.A.V. and you just get fucking, what if Tony Blair said everyone should get a degree?
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is, like, presumably this would require things and people to be paid for by some means of the government doing something.
Oh, why don't they could not do, they don't have to do it as pay. I mean, if it's Britain, you could just do it as some sort of volunteer agreement and give them some form of remuneration instead. It still gets taxed in national insurance, by the way.
Because they do frequently cite that, like, in all these different schemes they looked at, one of the things that the employers really liked is that the payment rates were, like, super low. But they basically had like a workforce, Yeah,
it's workfare, but they've all come with a pre-issued uniform.
Question: What if the kids refuse?
Oh, then they just don't turn up. It's even like, it's really funny because like they looked at like the Swiss system, which is probably like the most tightly run and well known of these things. Like it's the Swiss National Service is nothing new to anybody. And like even there, like they couldn't make it work for like people who didn't want to go. Even this country can't like fine or imprison people who don't want to go. Like they only handed out like 100 fines, which were like low enough that it basically doesn't matter to the people who just really don't want to go.
Problem solved, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the incredible thing is, and this is also in the report, and this is like what I find kind of baffling, because like you should, if you're trying to pitch this thing, maybe you shouldn't include like the litany of failures that have gone before. So like, none of this is new to Britain. This is all from the report itself. Blair in 1999 introduces the Young Volunteer Challenge and the Millennium Volunteers, none of which was ever heard from again.
Oh yeah, I remember the Millennium Volunteer thing. It sunk without a trace pretty much instantly. It was really astonishing.
Was that also like clean for the Queen, but like clean for the aliens or something?
Yeah, you get to work on whatever the fuck was going to be in the Millennium Dome. That's what that was.
Yeah, you get to see the boy.
Yeah, there was a strong element of that, but they basically had no idea what they wanted to do with it. So it's like, okay, we've announced this thing, great, yeah, and then nothing happened. Like
Gordon Brown
in London,
2009.
they did some stuff.
Sorry, Gordon Brown then in 2009 did the exact same thing, in writing in the News of the World, Dice Blast from the past, that all young people should do 50 hours of volunteer time by the time they're 19, which was followed by some underfunded pilots under Ed Balls. Fuck you, Ed Balls. That also sank without a trace. And then David Cameron in 2012 reintroduced once again the National Citizen Service for 16-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
Stop me if this sounds familiar. 1 week at a camp, 1 week of volunteer community service, 1 week of social action design, and then 30 hours to do things.
What is social action design? This is not a phrase that I'm familiar with,
sad.
and it terrifies me.
Yeah, it's just 1 week of feeling sad, basically. This is how we got to those
Only
terrible
1
youth
week.
mental health
That must be nice.
Yeah, get it all out of the way in one go.
And apparently, at least this is according to the reports, I have no idea, 800,000 people have done this, which is, you know...
That
This podcast is
absolutely
asking,
guarantees-
where are they now?
Yeah, that guarantees it was done through schools in some way, shape or form, and they all way over-reported the success of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't worry about it, because they had some fucking consultancy crank some numbers on it. Every pound invested on the National Citizen Service returns up to £8.36 in social value by improving well-being and higher education outcomes for participants. So don't worry about it, citizen. Your contribution is monetarily valued.
I mean, like, I feel like this is probably a lie.
I mean, I think when they say social value, they mean like fucking money saved on wages at the Amazon warehouse.
Yeah, probably. I mean, this is I'm trying to remember what it was. This is like the thing when we did the whale bonds for the Patreon, and they said, yeah, part of the valuation was like the tourism gains from whale watching. It sounds like that, basically. There were even, and again, I don't understand why you put this in the report if you're trying to sell it. There were a few tiny problems also with this scheme. It did swallow up 85% of the entire youth budget of media, culture, and sports. So, you know, if you're wondering why all the tracks closed and the football pitches closed, it's because they funneled it into this piece of shit. And by 2020, it was supposed to run 300,000 volunteers every year. At its absolute peak, it got about 90,000. Which is about
thanks, David Cameron.
And even better, my friends dropped by. The National Audit Office did a report on them. I almost read it just to hug it close to me. An 2017 NAL report highlighted that cost control had not been prioritized by the National Citizen Service Trust. Providers, i.e. private providers, who received 83% of the spending, also failed to often meet their participation targets, i.e. the real money wasn't in like doing anything for young people. The real money was in, renting out a Butlins in the off season to this shit. And who cares if anybody shows up?
Yeah, I'm getting the strong feeling for all of this that there's really two goals for it. Goal number one is, if we can swing it, some really cheap labour for companies to just throw spare hands at stuff. But goal number two, the real one, is just to funnel money out of the youth budget, out of doing stuff for kids, and just put it straight into private hands by whatever means we can. And this is a fig leaf for it.
Yeah, I mean 100%. So. But shockingly, again, like I said, they've done a bunch of polling. They have asked the right questions, and they found that a lot of the British public does want it, but not even the British want it to be mandatory, though. You can't even get the British public to get into mandatory youth civil service. While respondents do not want a fully militarized scheme, they would like a national service to include some military elements. And would you believe, in a shock twist, that it's only the 65 and older who would like it more the more military it gets?
Yeah.
That sounds about right. But again, I'm going to skip over all the polling because there's many pages, very boring. I just wanted to read you again. They've included specific lines from the focus groups. Which
oh boy, this is going to be the most pure strain, insane GB News, Daily Mail / Express Reader comment section ass shit you've ever heard.
Reading this back, I think we've met this one before. This is again woman 39, self-employed, Milton Keynes, Labour to undecided. She of the I keep pandering to my son and he keeps being a little piece of shit. Quote, I think it would be helpful. Yes, it would make the weaker people stronger and bring those who are over-aggressive into line.
Sure.
Man, 34, health and safety officer.
Man, 34,
Yeah. It'll get them into the countryside and out of their comfort zone. People need to...
Sorry, I just send them to the countryside just has a different meaning to me. Sorry.
I know, it has a much more positive meaning to me, but I was quite singular.
Look, unless you have ever seen a cow turd in person, you've never really lived, young one.
James, people need to realize the world is a very large place, and they need to get experiences out of it. Experience maketh the man.
Oh, fuck off.
Well, I mean, David, you were just saying that you went out to the countryside, and you went out of your comfort zone. Has it maketh you a man?
No, I'm sore now. If anything, it's broken me as a man.
Oh, this is Man 34 Health and Safety Officer again. It's a very limited quote pool, if I'm honest. It's worth doing, to my mind. I spent some time in the military, and if I hadn't, I think I'd have ended up in prison. Basic training gives you respect, determination, and a lot of life skills.
Oh my god.
I was housebroken by the military, and you can too.
Oh, just
so then they get to like.
If I hadn't joined the military, I could have ended up in prison. Whereas now, I just can't sleep.
Every night when I close my eyes, I hear the screams of Iraqi children, and I am fine. So what should it look like? So this is the last big bit of the report. It's a series of recommendations. The first recommendation is build a Great British National Service. Do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not left field.
Odd. The Great British National Service should focus on the 3 challenges outlined in the opening of this main topic. Unskilled, developing soft skill and character to support young people to enter the workplace through sport, interactive learning, and social action projects. Unhappy, increase mental resilience and tackling loneliness by giving young people a sense of purpose, increasing grit, and exposing them to managed risk.
We cannot allow a grit gap.
That's all this is, though. Increasing mental resilience just means making people more alright with the fucking misery of daily life. There's not about improving anything.
Have they tried just giving them cognitive behavioural therapy? I hear that that makes people just deal with shit rather than dealing with the actual problems.
CBT probably will be a part of this, at least unofficially.
Have young people considered taking a warm bath when they're feeling unmoored and unhappy? Unmoored, building a stronger sense of belonging by supporting new relationships and providing opportunities for work in the community, i.e., get together with strangers from across the land and do, work that the council can no longer pay the park service to do. I'm guessing what that's going to say.
Oh my god, join the National Citizen Service and you too can wipe the asses of old people for £0 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that is part of what the deal with Switzerland, yeah.
That big fence outside BAE Systems won't paint itself. you could imagine like the nearest like Serco contract officer just leaning against a tree with a piece of straw in his mouth, going, "Well, this is a job well done." But fortunately, we don't have to like actually make a whole new institution out of it. We can just like rebrand the National Citizen Service. That thing that sucks. And in a callback to the last Patreon episode, we can also make use of leveling up funding. So, don't worry, the money's in place. Excellent.
Yeah, the money's somewhere. Whether or not it's going to go into this, we just have to pick the right hat that it's under. Good luck.
Right. So now that we've established it, how do we get people to turn up? What do you think is the answer here?
Gunpoint.
Pay them.
No, of course not.
Sorry,
Jamie?
Is it handing out gold stars from WH Smith?
Why are you calling me Jamie tonight, Rob?
I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm very sorry.
I don't even have a sooty like thing on my hand. I don't get how you're. I mean, God.
Sorry, James. I will try to be better. Now, the way we should make sure that kids do this instead of not do this is it should be an opt-out system.
I love this idea, like, right, you're here to go on your thing because you forgot to opt out of it, and like that's going to work.
Yeah, do you know what? I can just imagine if this had been me, and like, you know, you arrive at the fucking weird camp, and you're at like the flag raising ceremony on the first day, and someone says, "Well, none of you opted out of this," and then me just immediately throwing the entire shit that we're doing on the floor and leaving once I realised I didn't have to be there if I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Alasdair, have you considered that if we made it opt-in instead, they'd have to spend more money on recruitment, and this is cheaper?
Yeah, this you if you're an organ donor, you're opted into this.
We didn't even do a flag raising ceremony when I was in the fucking cadets.
But yeah, basically the other problem is like if you make it opt-in instead of opt-out, if it's opt-in, then once again it'll only be the briefcase nerds and the CV polishers, and not, you know, the disgusting poor people who really need to kick up their ass, according to this report. And you know, if you don't have that kind of like right class mix, we would not have a shared ritual. And then of course they go on to cite David Lammy, fucking, you know. Labour frontbencher David Lammy made this case in his book Tribes, arguing that, and again this is Labour, without compulsion there is no obligation, and without obligation there is no duty.
What?
The whole notion of a civic service is founded upon the perception that a nation is made up of independent but interdependent citizens who have a duty to one another.
None of the people who go to Eton will be doing this. Fuck off.
Oh, no, of course not.
Oh, God,
like,
no.
Sorry, like, there's going to be no actual serious mixing. It's all about getting the proles to step in line. Fuck off. Just...
I genuinely think that they would be able to achieve so much more than just by straight up abolishing private schools. Like, that would improve so much more than this, like, tedious, down and around the houses bullshit.
Abolish private schools, reinstitute like actual nationalised schooling, like actually is falling apart, but reinstitute it, and build community centres for kids and give them actual activities.
Yeah, give the fuckers something to do, for fuck's sake. Like, not some weird flag raising multi-phase bullshit where they have to like do multiple different kinds of sport for some reason. Give them something to do out of their own choice and volition, not.
But the problem they've got, right, is they can't actually institute like community centres and all the rest of it, because getting kids together in groups and building like actual team skills, like, you know, like just being able to socialise with other people, like having discussions, considering points of view, that inevitably leads to the kids going, oh, you know, we can actually do stuff together. And by the way, we all seem to be incredibly fucked as a class. And so it's essential, as we have a system that basically parasitizes young, that we keep them like without any kind of power and any ability to organise. So I'm sorry, we can't build community centres because that might risk another kind of Corbyn-esque moment where the youth all go, hey, this is shit, maybe we should band together and not take it anymore.
Help, the Scouts are unionising.
However, it is.
I'm sorry, I'm still not over that fucking David Lammy quote.
I know.
That's fucking wild.
Without compulsion, there is no obligation.
Robert Heinlein really fell off.
Yes.
However, it's really funny because again, this is supposed to be making the case in favour of a national renewed of GB snoo snoo. But they admit they don't have a fucking clue as to how to enforce an opt-out system. They don't know how to do it because, like I said, not even the Swiss can make the mandatory service thing stick.
No.
But of course, there's an even bigger problem. If it was if it is opt-out like they want, you might have like up to 750,000 people participating in every year, and nobody has the idea of where the money or the logistics are going to come from.
The only thing worse than no one doing this is anyone doing this.
No, they just want some people to do it, you know, like
we just want some like non-zero number of people to do this, just so that we can say that we have like embolden their ability to participate in a democracy or some bullshit, and like you can just paste that on a fucking flyer when you're out canvassing for the Tories or whatever the fuck. Like,
I mean, basically they want whatever target group the Daily Mail has in mind today to be in the, you know, GB snoo snoo. That's like, you know, that's sort of how it goes.
A fucking great idea to have a Daily Mail front page that just reads government working night and day to resolve gangs crisis or some bullshit, and it's like, yeah, we've made like 3 classes of kids raise a flag for a week, and then we've solved the problem.
Yeah, but they dust their hands comically. This is an incredible line from the report. So, the government must aim for the highest level of participation and reduce selection bias, while also avoiding the hard edges of compulsion and managing the operational challenges of a large-scale program. And then they comically walk out the door. Like, that's... The only way they can, like, think that this is going to work is just let the schools do it. Just fuck it. Just something else for a teacher to do. Why not? You know?
Yeah.
Well, that was something the cadets was sliding to around about the time of my leaving. That was something they were getting more and more into the idea of doing, and was getting involved in schools. And it was partly because the numbers were not fucking rising the way they were wanting them to, so we're easier to fucking pick up kids than the school. But some connotations to that kind of language. It's a youth organisation in Britain.
So many cadet recruiters no longer allowed within 200 feet of any school. Yeah.
I mean, like I was forced to be in the Scouts when I was a teenager. Fucking hated every second of it, and like my general attitude towards these kind of groups is fucking ban them. Anything that is like built around a kind of nationalistic like identity. Is straight up indoctrination and shouldn't be used as like a structured activity for kids. Give them team sports.
I fundamentally disagree. However, I'm only in support of it if it's in a Soviet Union of some kind, in which case national service is actually very good. The problem is it's entirely dependent on what national it is you're talking about. Like,
so yeah, it's like indoctrination to our ideology is good, I'll have you know.
Yeah, it is when it's Soviet.
So yeah, like, but even with like an opt-out program instead, Onward does estimate that by 2030, when all the facilities and logistics are ready, I'm sure, they would have 600,000 participants every single year.
Fuck
Imagine
off.
how many like Butlins prison camps you would have to build to get these people in.
Fuck, I just strained my arm doing the jerk-off motion. God damn it.
You don't need to even do that. Like, the facilities basically exist already in the form of shitty, run-down fucking transit camps that the army has. Like, there's loads of them. They're all over the fucking place.
Look,
every time we talk about
guys,
like migration and people being locked up in like facilities like former army camps, you tell us that they're unlivable death holes.
Yeah,
guys,
but not for children.
I'm going to reach across the political divide. I'm going to reach across the political divide. The compromise position is sending the kids to the prison barge.
Like, cool. One of the places that I stayed in for 2 fucking weeks was
where you got black lung or whatever.
No, thankfully not. But it was a place that was former prisoner of war camp that... What was the Nazi that flew over? Was it Hess?
I think it was
Hess, yeah.
Yeah, he was held prisoner in that same camp in those same buildings that I fucking slept in like for 2 weeks.
There's history in these walls.
Still exist. Oh god. Just fucked.
So yeah, like, and if you're wondering how it looks like, again, they just copy from the French designs. So like 2 weeks of a residential thing, with structured activities where like you go hiking, you do some orienteering, as well as quote first aid exercises with firefighters, which I'm sure that the firefighters union would love, as well as, and this is incredible.
Actually, unironically, the firefighters are generally in favour of doing like things like first aid,
but you know,
safety, etc. It's like for one.
I mean, I'm not giving shit on. I'm not shitting on firefighters, but you know, or on the idea of giving people first aid class.
Slightly understaffed, underpaid, and far too fucking busy to be doing that shit as well. Like, that's something that they shouldn't have to do. It should just be a comprehensive part of school education.
Yeah.
And then you get to this bit, which is truly like magisterial. This is about how we, like I said, one of the challenges is that young people don't feel connected to like their communities and the nation as a whole. So just let's see if I can get through the whole bit.
I know we go on about it, and like, but it's only been 40 years of trying to drive out anyone under the age of 25 from every city centre, and anyone who even owns a fucking hoodie.
Yeah,
it's anyone under 30 now, Alasdair. Like, you know, it's
I know. It's like fucking challenge 25. As I've gotten older, that challenge has gotten older.
Yeah.
Activities. So this is to fix the gap in citizenship, basically. Activities would also be offered to build a sense of citizenship and social responsibility. Evidence suggests that classroom-based learning is ineffective compared with interactive learning. Therefore, this is fucking incredible. Activities could include sessions with public officials in their workplace, e.g. council leaders in their town halls. You could go to the local fucking council and see them debate, which council housing to sell off to some property developer cunt. Or which trees to fucking cut down in your fucking street.
My God, make 16-year-olds spend time around British councillors. I can't see a problem with this.
Just set a fucking gaggle of kids loose in a magistrate's court. Like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Like, they're just climbing up the fucking walls. Dispense justice now, bitch.
I mean, I agree that like we should expose more people to the inner workings of like local councils, because then we might get the violent revolution we've all been praying for. Yeah, and also kids could learn through simulations and role-playing games, which is just like, what if you did Model UN?
No, it's get the kids in the VR lobby.
I thought we're meant to be avoiding transing our kids here, Alasdair.
Yeah, so like we would do all of that, and then afterwards there would be 6 months of social action, which they say would be the equivalent of a Duke of Edinburgh silver medal. I don't know what that is, so I assume that's
it's like as David was saying earlier, Duke of Edinburgh is basically this award certification to show that you're a good little worker bee, basically, and it's at different levels. So
social action can improve soft skills, with one study finding an increase in grit, up 6% from the control group.
The children are more gritty.
They actually did grit. What they how did? Sorry, right?
Yeah, this is once again the Jubilee Centre for Character and Virtue at the University of Birmingham.
In what fucking way is that quantifiable?
What they do is they murder their family and then leave them for dead in a shallow grave and see if they dig themselves out and go on a revenge spree, and how quickly they're able to take down the black hat wearing villain determines their grit levels. Like,
yeah, but you also get an 8% improvement in empathy and a whopping 9% improvement score in cooperation.
Wow, with numbers like that, you can't argue against it.
Imagine being just such a fucking, bitch-made idiot that you just listen to these statistics and take them at all seriously. Like, oh wow, grit has increased by 6%. That's very impressive. Just like, what a fucking loser.
Imagine being the kid filling out the fucking form at the end where it says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how gritty do you feel now? And putting anything more than fuck you.
The existence of Gritty, the mascot, would skew it, unfortunately, so it has to be done in a more objective fashion.
So yeah, I mean, later on they do recognize that these 6 months of social actions, it's going to be quite difficult because this government and previous governments has destroyed the social fabric and a lot of the local organizations that might actually be able to use the volunteers in the way they should be. So they do acknowledge that. One of the biggest logistical challenges in the social action phase will be the matching of 600,000 annual participants with social action projects. I mean, that's very true. Then, however, they do go on to say a significant portion of these projects might be matched with large national organizations that have the capacity to all coordinate for themselves, like St. John's Ambulance, fine, whatever, or the Special Constabulary.
Yeah, plastic PCs, that's what we need more of.
Yeah. What if you had more kids become like plastic cops? Yeah.
They've already got a police cadets. Police cadets is a thing that already exists.
It's full of the worst wankers you can ever imagine.
Oh, absolutely is.
He's not having you on, Rob. Genuinely, it exists, and the people who go to it are like, I can't even begin to describe the levels of stupid and malevolent that makes you a teenage kid who wants to go along and be part of the police cadets.
Are they basically all the kids out for revenge for like being shoved in a locker for being just?
Oh yeah. That is
bullied?
Absolutely who it is. Yeah, it is people looking for a shortcut to move up to the point of being the bully. That's all it is.
Oh, the dickhead to adult bully pipeline is an underdeveloped.
Cowards
part
who
of our
don't want to
society.
put the work in. That's what it really is.
No,
It's fucking nepotism, is what it is.
But again, let me leave you on the note of some more incredibly spurious statistics. Again, this is of course what it's all about. Apart from the benefits to employer, which is the other thing, think of the financial benefits of all of this. The value for money for this investment, i.e., funding the GB Snoo, would likely be considerable. Studies by London Economics and by Jump X Symmetrica on
I love it when those two go back to back. Put it down to absolutely foul tunes, you know.
Yeah.
Found that the value for money for every pound spent on this service generated an economic benefit between £2.33 and £3.49.
That is hot. What the fuck? I am so sorry. Right, no, fuck this.
Isn't
right.
that like the upper possibility for like some of the best government programs?
It's better than like that. I think that outperforms food stamp spending, which is horseshit. I'm so sorry. No, absolutely. Like that is not just made up. That is just like someone has sat down and went, how do we just straight up lie about this in the most vehement way possible? Fuck them. No way.
James, are you suggesting that Jump X Symmetrica may have done some numbers fuckstein? Because I find that very hard to believe.
No, Rob, they haven't done numbers fuckstein. Like, numbers fuckstein, they construct elaborate models to justify their lies. This is just straight up, how much do you get in return if you, like, spend it on, like, social housing or, like, feeding hungry kids or, school meals, that kind of thing? Okay, well, let's just do more than that. Because it has to look better than them.
I mean, the other cost reduction or like economic benefit is way more bleak.
Yeah, but James, 6% more grit though.
Yeah,
6%.
8% more empathy for every pound we spent.
Look, if I was
that accumulates,
if I was building a Pathfinder gunslinger character and you offered me 6% more grit, I wouldn't fucking take it. It would be a bad investment and a waste of a feat. So on that principle, this is bad government spending.
Yeah, but you have to take it early, because then it stacks. It stacks with other stat bonuses you can pick up.
In Pathfinder, it's like level agnostic. It actually applies retroactively, so no.
Yeah, well, they should have considered that before writing this report, really, shouldn't they?
Mm-hmm. They're not very good nerds, frankly.
Yeah, the other one of the other main financial benefits that they state is the incredibly bleak one. By doing national service, reducing pressures on NHS mental health services alone would yield significant cost savings. In 2022, referrals to child and adult mental health services alone cost the NHS $2.9 billion. So, if people have 8% more grit, 6% more grit, I think we can cut at least
don't ever egg that pudding, Rob. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Like, I love the idea.
What if one of them was beaten up by someone wearing like 9 sleeping bags? What if that happened? Would they feel better now?
It's like hey kid, you are seriously depressed because I don't know, maybe you're trans or whatever, and you're not getting any support in the community and no help. So how about we force you to go on a course with a bunch of total fucking assholes.
But you say you're trans, but I think you need to be 6% grittier than you are right now, and then that'll solve all your problems.
Do we honestly think they're going to need less mental health support at the end of this shit? No fucking way.
But yeah, sorry, one last bit, and then we'll wrap this up. If you're asking how would we fund all this stuff up front, because we'd have to, spend some money, and the suggestion they give, and this is how you know it's truly incredible, and like somebody's really wilded out on this one. They suggest, well, why don't we cut the triple lock on pension benefits?
This is actually incredible because this is a vehicle entirely designed to like cater to like that weird sector of the Tories that like have realised that actually we need people who are younger than like 60 years old to become Tories, and just completely thrown the baby out with the bathwater and just decided that they're going to take like a dead aim at the head of a nearby pensioner purely so that the Daily Mail can run this as like an attack ad. Like, this is like, what planet are these fucking idiots on?
It's maybe we've missed it. Maybe they don't actually give a shit about any of the youth question. Maybe it's just like, hey, how can we break the triple lock on pensions? Well, pensioners really like national service, so how about we tell them, hey, listen, we're going to have to break the triple lock on pensions, but it's for a good reason. It's to toughen up the future youth.
Much
well,
like
we in exchange for your pension, we are going to bully the shit out of your snot-nosed nephew.
Much like Labour is the only one who could dismantle the NHS, the Tories are the only ones that could dismantle the triple lock.
Yes. But I mean, that's sort of, in terms of just, I'm going to wrap this the idea that, this is the famous Milton Friedman thing. This is like you build the ideas not for when they're needed, but for when they're around when the crisis comes. It's like the idea of this paper and all this other horseshit, it isn't for right now. It's to be lying around for the next lot. And this shit, given how like relatively cheap it is and how flag covered it is, I could well see Team Starmer going for this. Like, it has all the, discipline, punishment, getting things ready for the labour market, like...
I mean, you laid out earlier, Rob, that, like, fucking Blair and Brown went for it, so, yeah, of course they will.
Yeah. And it also, like, it's a sort of perfect, like, Tory melt Labour right policy, because, like, this is not in line with, the 15-minute city psychos and the ULEZ weirdos and, like, that wing, and, like, the migration psychos. This is that sort of... we still want to help people, but like preferably with a boot on their neck, kind of, soft Tory Labour right policy, because it doesn't require them to do anything hard at all. It doesn't require them to like attack the economic and social structures that actually govern the country. It just, and once again, it turns all of this problems with real problems, existing problems in education, in the job market, in youth mental health, and frankly, just turns it back into a personal problem. Because, like, you've been to boot camp now. Why are you still sad? Why don't you have a job? Did you not work hard enough at boot camp? It's that kind of thing. And, of course, and that's the other bonus, because this is why I can also definitely see, especially Labour going for it with, them being open for business, etc. This provides an endless opportunity for cheap labour and massive grifts. Like, think you just go into business and David, you and I start buying up like these disused prisoner of war camps, and like if we know this is coming and then we market it for like 17 times the value as a snoo re-education centre. Like
if that's going to get me out of the draconian rent controls, etc., that Scott Gove are going to put in, any day now, obviously.
Guys, I've just been struck by the site. I've just got it. What we do is we buy up like large sections of Blackpool to better appeal to the British pensioner kind of aesthetic. Like, send your kids to camps at Blackpool where they can learn how to harden the fuck up. That's how we do it. That's the money-winning move. And we also pitch it to the government, right, by saying we're going to reinvigorate the local Blackpool economy. And, we write a proposal.
Oh, we can get that sweet levelling up funding.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, podcasting is Praxis. We will make everything worse in Blackpool. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's like on the one hand you'll have the big AI university, and then in the lot next to it you have the Praxis Cast Re-Education Snoo Centre.
Yes.
It feels kind of incongruous though with the long-term mission of this podcast to finally reinstate the dream of the James Spader Cum Cafe.
Well, no, that's by reinvigorating the local community, you create the demand for there to be additional cum cafes, at which point you then can build one. So
yeah,
it will put it in as a footnote in the proposal.
Sorry,
if you build it, they will come.
Fuck off. Can we end this?
Right, so if you want to get in on the ground floor of all this, you need to join our Patreon and our Discord, and then soon, we will open the Praxiscast DAO, and then we'll issue our own Bitcoin, and from there on, it'll be free money, baby.
Yeah,
it is mandatory, but if you don't show up, there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, I think that will do that, and I think we have to round us off some delightful comment or commentariat. So,
Yes.
Jamie, it's all yours.
Yeah. Right. Does anyone seriously expect this to be enforced when almost every day I smell cannabis from houses and passing cars? If the police don't bother about a Class B drug, why will they care about this Class C one? I can't say I've ever seen anyone using laughing gas, but the stench of cannabis everywhere is horrible. Brackets, I'm not bothered by what others choose to do, as long as I don't have to smell it. Is that comment or commentary?
Comment.
Yeah, comment.
Comment, definitely.
Comment. Yeah, that's comment.
Yeah, that was a comment on BBC News.
Brilliant.
Right. Our hero has somehow become the modern age in arms. A centrist dad with a sidearm. He frets over articles about gut health in the New Scientist and disdains big corporations for their supposed use of child sweatshops. His casual lover, unseen and conveniently relaxed about his extracurricular sexual adventures, is an immigration lawyer. He muses in terms that sound suspiciously like a Nick Cohen column about how the far right, which here means anyone to the right of Tony Blair, is identical to the far left, i.e. anyone to the left of Tony Blair. In a Budapest hotel, he opts for a healthy continental breakfast instead of a full English, like a middle-aged husband trying to shed some excess pounds before a family holiday. Comment or commentariat?
Giles Corrin.
Commentariat. It's commentariat because it references Giles Corrin.
Doesn't.
I thought it was
just
Nick
said
Cohen.
Giles Corrin.
Yeah.
But yeah, commentariat. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
commentariat. Yeah.
For a bonus point, does anyone want to guess which hero they're talking about?
The hero voter of the next Labour general election campaign.
No.
Richard Littlejohn.
No, that was Neil Gooch in The Spectator talking about the latest James Bond novel. I love that bit about how he opts for a continental breakfast instead of a full English. Like, we all famously know James Bond loves a fucking full English.
Yeah, and a builder's tea.
I just love the idea of like James Bond sprinting up the scaffolding to like chase the fucking parkour like bomber across it, and he's having to stop and wheeze every few minutes because he's like, you know, just near a coronary from all the English breakfasts he's having.
Just
great.
vomiting up beans just everywhere while in the middle of James.
Sugar, not sweetened.
If only I wasn't renowned for the amount of English breakfasts I eat.
Right. The notion of drinking red wine at room temperature dates from a time when that room was in a drafty old castle in Burgundy and no warmer than 16 or 17 degrees C, which was the maximum temperature your wine eventually rose to after coming up from the 11 or 12 C of your cellar. But as central heating caught on and the average room heat went up to a steamy 21 or 22 C, that started being the temperature people believed they should drink red wine at, when it is actually far too warm. Even the great reds taste cheap and lazy, almost mulled at that temperature. The knock-on effect of all this central heating, of course, and the fossil fuel it burns, is that the world itself is now boiling to death, climate change is rewriting the world wine map, harvests are failing, and many of the great chateaux are on the brink of disaster. So the lesson for wine lovers in 2023 is not that you should start chilling your wine, but that you should stop overheating your houses. Is that comment or commentariat?
That is commentariat, a special article in the Times by His Majesty King Charles.
My brain just latched on to us talking about John Goodman in Community earlier and the room temperature room. And, like, the room temperature room is the only room that you can drink red wine in, I assume.
I'm going to say commentariat.
Is this me? Is this my blog? Because I feel incredibly dated right now.
I was going to ask if you agreed with it. Like,
it's not that I don't not agree.
Right, well, you heard it here first. Rob agrees with Giles Corrin.
Oh, that was an expertly laid trap right there.
Yeah. I'm gonna go into a.
And Rob just stumbled onto the scene and gone, "Ooh, delicious moe."
I was gonna go into a room temperatured room and close the door with like a bottle of whiskey and a gun now. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right, final one. Enjoy the sunshine, drink plenty of water and use sunscreen. If you get too hot, go in the shade or cool off in some water. That's all the BBC needs to say. The human body does not spontaneously combust after it reaches 30 degrees C. Most parts of Europe happily enjoy weeks of temperatures exceeding 30 C every summer. Older people are far more likely to suffer ill health due to the BBC scaring them witless. Is that comment or commentariat?
That is comment.
Comment.
No, that's commentariat.
Commentariat, yeah, that's going to be like Little John in the Mail. That feels like a Mail article.
It was a comment on BBC News.
No, that's the same thing.
All right. Well, that was another delightful episode of Podcasting is Praxis. Thank you for your service as a listener.
And service guarantees citizenship, so keep tuning in.
Yeah.
The service is going to patreon.com/praxiscast and subscribing to us. That guarantees you citizenship in the Discord. So, yeah.
Though no voting rights, we should strictly say that is not a democratic society.
We didn't define citizenship. Twitch.tv/praxiscast Wednesday and Thursday evenings. That's for the streams, and merch available at praxiscast.tmail.com. And yeah, we will see you all at some point soon.
Yeah.
Thanks,
citizens.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.